Greetings from the Olympus area. You can see the holy mountain on the horizon. Beautiful weather. Today I'm going to tell you about making Greek agria horta, wild vegetables. One of the most important plants used in wild vegetable mixes throughout the Mediterranean is of course chicory, called here radiki. Of course, people don't use the grown-up the stalks, but they look for young leaves like this, and they pick them from late autumn till early spring. So you would generally want to find a kind of agricultural area, quite fertile, because the more fertile the area is, the leaves will be, the bigger the leaves will be. Another plant is Sonchus oleraceus, sow thistle, zoho, which is also extremely commonly used throughout the Mediterranean, also extremely important in Greece. And rumex, probably rumex pulcher here, another important plant. And depending on the area, people would use different species, like the leaves of wild carrot or various asteraceae plants. I cannot see much around here, but I have already collected a large bag of different wild vegetables from different patches around here. So now I'll show you all the plants I collected today for agria horta. Lots of chicory, also a few leaves of Lactuca viminea, the pliant lettuce, but what is on the top is mostly chicory. And fennel, very common here and commonly used as spice for wild vegetables. And we have lots of Sonchus oleraceus, sow thistle, and also Urospermum picroides. I don't know the English name. And I also collected some purslane. Most of it is already dead at this time of year, but I found a nice patch. And also some leaves of sorrel, rumex pulcher. That's it. Let's cook it. The time of cooking, it really depends on the softness of leaves. So, like sow thistle, if it's soft in spring, you could cook it for 1 minute, or chicory. But actually, very often people cook it even up to half an hour to make sure that all the species in the mix are really soft. Then you take the water out, and then you put olive oil and squeeze some lemon on top of it. And of course, it needs salt. The actual number of species used, it really depends on what you have at the moment. Some species, like young leaves of Papaver field poppy, which are delicious, are not available at this time of year, but people would use them in spring. And many other species which are not available now in November, because the season for collecting horta is from now, from November till spring, till it dries out, depending on the area, on the weather. So in some years and areas you would stop in March, but in some you could continue until May. And some old ladies would know like 30-40 species, but in most cases just a few species are used, the ones which are most abundant. And in the past, when people were very poor, they would resort to more bitter species, whereas now, people tend to collect the species which are the nicest in taste, the softest, and the most abundant. This is another plant you would add to horta, a wild leek, Amium ampeloprasum. Very tasty spice for horta. Now it's a bit too early. I think it's better to collect it in spring when it grows up, and then you can pull out the whole stalks. And this is black nightshade, Solanum nigrum. It's commonly regarded as toxic, but actually in many countries it's a wild vegetables, and also in Greece many people add it to horta. I came across it in Corfu, that it was normal for people to add it to horta, but also in other areas of Greece too. Of course, you have to cook it well and take the water out. Now I put the wild veg into boiling water. It's gonna boil for about 20 minutes. For me, it's usually the ideal time if you have a mix of many species. Before adding them in the water, I cleaned them, rinsed them twice, and actually looked carefully to exclude all the kind of dead and yellow leaves and, you know, bits of dirt and like a piece of grass or something. Also, you want to avoid grit, because if you get some grit, some sand, it won't be very pleasant to eat. So now we squeeze out some lemon and put some salt in and olive oil and mix it. Actually, more olive oil. Usually for this amount a few spoons is enough. Fantastic. Really nice aroma of fennel and wild leek. Some of the leaves are completely mild in taste, some are a bit bitter. Sometimes you can even recognize each species when you eat it. Good for everything.